Hey guys, Dustin here, and it's time for another episode of Learn Swedish with me. In this week's episode, we'll be covering Group 1 verbs. Now, if you don't know, Swedish verbs come in 4 different groups, and Group 1 is easily, well, the easiest. So let's go ahead and jump right into Group 1 verbs. Before we start, you have to know what a verb is. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, a verb is a word that demonstrates an action like running, jumping, anything you can do or that can be done is a verb. About 80% of Swedish verbs are in the first group, and the first group is probably the easiest to conjugate. Most Swedish verbs follow a pattern, and Group 1 is probably one of the easier patterns to follow. So let's go ahead and we'll jump in with the verb öppnar. I'm going to use the verbs in present tense because that's probably how you're going to encounter them most often, and then we'll work around present tense. So öppnar is open. Jag öppnar dörren. I open the door. Now the first thing you have to do is you have to find the stem of that verb, and that would be, you just drop the R off there and you get öppna. That's the stem. Now, with all Group 1 verbs, the infinitive form is going to be the same as the stem. If you're looking up the verb in a dictionary, the infinitive form is the one that's going to have at before it, like att öppna or att gillar. It translates to English as to open or to like or to do something. So the way to tell if a verb is in the first group is that once you remove the R and you get the stem, does the stem end in an A? If so, it's Group 1. Once you've determined the stem ends in an A, making it a Group 1 verb, then the infinitive will also be the same as the stem. Then you add an R for present tense. So you've got öppna as stem, then öppna as infinitive also, then öppnar as present tense. And then if you want to go to the past, you would say öppnade. You would add a DE to the end of that. So you would have jag öppnade dörren, jag öppnade dörren. If you wanted to say I have opened the door, then you would move into the supine form and you would just add a T at the end instead of the DE. So it would be öppnat. So using that in a sentence would be jag har öppnat dörren, which means I have opened the door. And that's pretty much the way that Swedish Group 1 verbs work. Group 2 is actually pretty similar, but we'll tackle that at a different time. The hardest part is actually when you get to Group 4 and start tackling the irregular verbs, but we'll save that for later also. If you want a list of more Group 1 verbs that you can play around with, go ahead and check the comments section. I'll add some there. And also I'm going to add a pretty useful site down below in the description as well, where you can go and actually just conjugate verbs by group and level. So I hope that's helpful for you. It was helpful to me. So if this was helpful to you and you like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Go ahead and click the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.